G'day my voters, democracy lovers, Adam here, lovely to see you. We're going to have a serious conversation today and we're going to talk about policy formation. One of the things that happens in our political ecosystem is that ideology distorts the way that we look at the challenges that face us. And so, as you guys know, you've heard it ad nauseum, you've seen it in speeches, you've heard lots of people talk about it from the MiVote team. We take a non-ideological, destinational, non-binary, non-adversarial, that's a lot of words to put into one mouthful, approach to policy formation. And we do so with a really clear design that's taken a long time to build. And I want to walk you through that. All of this is available for you on our website, www.mivote.org.au, in a variety of places. You can look at the policy framing area, you can look at the structure area, you can download the PDF book, which is here, and you can see it and walk through it yourself. But fundamentally, we start with formulating our policy in a non-ideological, objective way by getting the data. So the first thing on any issue is to actually take a solutions-oriented approach, which is what's actually going on. What does the data tell us? What exists in the environment that is credible, from credible sources, that's peer-reviewed, that actually enables us to have best practice material, research, most current research available, so that when we're thinking about the problem, we're thinking about it from the place where the experts in that space currently are. The next thing that we do is we create working groups. Working groups are about finding domain experts, so people who work in that space all day, every day, and will have a very specific expertise and understanding about what makes that particular ecosystem tick. So for example, if we're looking at employment policy, you'd be talking to people who are outsourcing, people in recruitment agencies, you'd be talking to the unemployment agencies, to human services departments, you'd be talking to people who are unemployed, people who are employed, you'd be talking to employers themselves. And it's absolutely critical that we understand what's happening on the ground so that we can see whether or not the trend in the data is actually supporting or otherwise what's happening, and understand that if you pivot a little bit this way, this is what's going to happen within the ecosystem. If you pivot a little bit that way, that's what's going to happen. The third thing that we do, the thing that I'm personally most proud of within our environment, is we go to advisory committees. These are permanent structures within our organisation that are written into our constitution. So we have a series of advisory committees of 8 people each that represent specific constituencies within our community that don't normally get, they're not normally allowed to be part of the conversation around policy formation unless the policy directly relates to them. So those advisory committees include, Indigenous, LGBTI, youth, elderly, rural, migrant communities, industry, public service, and a variety of others. And it's really about making sure that everybody has a perspective. So if we're looking at jobs again, this is what the data tells us and the facts tell us. Then what are the people who are in the system actually experiencing every day? We understand that. Then we go to the different constituencies and we say, look, based upon those things, what does that mean to the Indigenous community? What does it mean for gender equality? What does it mean for industry? What does it mean for the regional cohort? So we understand what matters. And then we set the 4 destinations that you can vote on in the app. And from there are 4 key checks and balances. The first is a check and balance that the information itself is objective, so this comes from our head of policy, and that it is the most current, up-to-date, peer-reviewed data that's available. The second check and balance through our ethics committee is to make sure that we're not leading in the way that we're writing either the content that you see in the app or in the way that we frame the question in the first place. Once that's signed off, it goes to our governance committee. Our governance committee is charged with ensuring that the solutions that we put forward, those 4 destinations in the app, are achievable. We can actually practically do them. They're legally constitutional in Australia, and they meet our constitution. And then finally, it goes to our council, which is our board. And they have to sign off that all of those other checks and balances have been met. And all of that happens before you ever see it on the app. So there's a lot of work that goes into the work that you see. And because we're not asking for binary yes and no answers, the amount of information that gets created and the way that it gets created is really important. You have to trust the information, and because we're not an ideologically driven movement, we don't care if the answer sometimes looks more like this or more like this. We just want to make sure that you have the information you need to make an informed decision so that we can actually head in much better places as a community. Thanks a lot. Check it out on the website, www.mivote.org.au. See you soon at MiVote.